justice for all.
That's not right. Yeah, well, I don't think we need them. I know we're late.
There were no votes taken in executive session. And let's see. Is no one here to address the committee from what I see? No public comments, okay. So now we go into superintendent's report.
Good evening, Chairman Marciano and members of the school committee. We're in for a real treat this evening. Our two middle schools have been involved in a Thinking Maps project. It's a heavy-duty professional development, and we are delighted to have the Birchwood team, the leadership team here this evening to talk about this special project that they've been working on. So I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Goho and her team.
Thank you, Melinda Smith. Thank you, members of the school committee. Thank you, Vice Chair Mr. Marciano. At this time, we'd like to present a school-wide initiative that we started this summer, which is called Thinking Maps. And this is a fabulous opportunity for our teachers to engage in a 3-year-long professional development in teaching metacognitive thinking to our students in order to better understand the content and have better problem-solving skills. At this time, I would like to take the opportunity to turn over the members to the Silver team, or our 6th grade teachers, who have done a phenomenal job at getting the process started, and they will present Thinking Maps at the middle school level. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Melissa Ferrara. I'm the 6th grade science teacher on the Silver team, and we got a little slideshow to explain to you how Thinking Maps works, what it's doing for our students, and we are absolutely thrilled with this new visual mapping system for the kids. So if you follow the screen in the slideshow, it should give you all the information as we go along. So if we look at the first diagram, it's just simply quickly to tell you what Thinking Maps is. Thinking Maps is a visual pattern of different maps that the kids are using. It's based on a cognitive skills. It's applied in all content areas across the curriculum. It's used by all teachers, and it's used in combination with depth and complexity. Now, why are we using Thinking Maps? That's the big question. Thinking Maps gives all students and teachers a common language for meaningful learning. The consistency and flexibility of each thinking map promotes student-centered and cooperative learning, concept development, reflective thinking, creativity, clarity of communication, and continuous cognitive development. This next diagram will show you that our children today are visual learners. 75% of our students learn visually. It's been a misconception over time where the teacher stands in front of the students and is dictated how to learn and what to learn. Now the students take responsibility of their own learning with the teacher facilitating, and the 8 maps help greatly through this. If you see there, 25% is through the rest of the senses, but 75% is visual learning. How the brain functions and why Thinking Maps is a visual language. Teachers and most people in education know what graphic organizers are. So you say to yourself, is this just another graphic organizer? Well, it's not. There are only 8 there are only 8 thinking maps where there are multiple and many graphic organizers to choose from. Kids get completely overwhelmed by this, and having only 8 helps them to focus in on what they need to learn. And again, another diagram showing that its confusing variety of graphic organizers makes it impossible for students to own these tools. Here are the quick review of the 8 maps. We have the circle map, we have the bubble map, flow map, brace map, tree map, double bubble map, multi-flow map, and the bridge map. The kids right now, after only a few months, know the maps. They're incorporating them in their learning. They're using these maps already to write essays. They're using them to take summatives, assessments. They use them for all their assessments. They're actually pulling them out on their own now and using the language that's common to all of them. And we're seeing already so much of this coming along and working along with all of the tests. It's just quickly, the circle map defines a concept of context where you're pulling things out. The bubble map is describing qualities. The double bubble is comparing and contrasting. The tree map is classifying. The brace map is part to whole. The flow map is sequencing. The multi-flow map is cause and effect. And the bridge map is seeing analogies. And as we know, when the kids go to college, analogies and taking test analogies is huge. This really helps with that. Here is a short video to explain it to you.
When students use thinking maps over and over again, the same map for the same thought process, what happens is the brain wires those two together so that every time a student sees a tree map, they think classification. So when they're in a textbook and it says there are 3 kinds of laws, in their mind they see a tree map so that you have that pattern wired together to the visual to have a visual pattern for thinking.
The brain does not outline. You form networks or maps of neurons, and your information is contained within those maps. So that if you think about it, thinking maps operates the same way the brain does.
The teacher can see what the student has learned, because thinking maps are not only good for the student to use, to learn from, but they can be used as an assessment. So teacher immediately knows what it is that the student has learned and what it is that she can teach. Does she need to go back, or can she go forward because the student's got it? And thinking maps is a wonderful tool to not only teach to, but to assess, which means that time is used much more effectively.
I can use the thinking map to show the children what I'm thinking, and they'll understand what I'm thinking because they understand the thinking map. They know that what I'm teaching them is a process or it's an analogy because they know exactly what the thinking map is supposed to show you. It helps the children because they are not guessing what I'm looking for. When I do a circle map, they know that I'm brainstorming something, and if I'm doing a bubble map, they know that we're looking for adjectives. So it really helps them that way. They're not guessing what I'm looking for. They know exactly what I want.
The brain has an absolutely amazing ability to remember what it's seeing from very, very early on. We don't remember words on pages. We don't remember sounds we've heard often, but we always remember the pictures. If I say to you elephant, you see one. And if I say to you don't see a giraffe, you still see one.
So when I first started using different types of visual tools, I got excited.
Okay, we're going to go forward from there. And Nancy Riccardi, our ELA teacher, is going to take over, and we're just going to show you a few things that we're actually doing right now on the Silver team with the 6th graders.
Hello. Okay, in the pictures that you see, if you can see them clearly enough, I work with Mrs. Castanelli, the resource teacher, with the inclusion students, and it's a wonderful sight to see, seeing all the students working together, creating these maps. So it says Mr. Riccardi, 6th grade ELA, and Mrs. Castanelli use flow maps to show the steps to responding to a question in a text. So the students can refer to the board, look at the steps, cite the evidence from the text that we're doing. And the students are using this throughout the curriculum, okay, so in all classes. This is Mrs. Ferrara's science class. you can see circle maps, brace maps, flow maps are introduced in the weather, scientific method, and organizing their notes. The next one. This is social studies. Mrs. Ruggieri and Mrs. DeSanto use multiple mapping to teach the physical regions of the United States. And I think, it's nice to actually walk into the classrooms and see this going on. Seeing it in pictures really doesn't serve it justice unless you see it for your own eyes and the kids actually interacting, doing it personally. So just want to add that. The next one, Mrs. Scaramuzzo and Ms. Goncalves using flow maps for multiplying decimals and multiplying fractions. Gone are the days of just, doing examples on the boards, kids copying them in their notebooks, going back up to the board. That's not happening anymore, okay? The students are really using these step-by-step ways of solving problems in everyday classrooms, not just in math. The next one, in every classroom that you enter, whether it be the gymnasium, the art room, you will see the 8 thinking map wall up. So every time we introduce a map, we add words to the wall. So if you look up there, you can see yellow words and red vocabulary words. So we don't say, today we're doing a tree map. What we use is the vocabulary that goes along with creating the map. So if we say we're classifying or we're summarizing, the students automatically know which map we're using. They know what map they say, oh, we're going to use this one. Exactly. And it's just a visual that they can look at. And one great activity that me and Ms. Casanelli used in an ELA writing class, and I have the inclusion kids, is that together we created a sequence map using a flow map from a story that we read. Then we took the red words, which are more transition words in their writing, and everything's color-coded, but I'm not going to go into that. And together we created the summary. And the students were like, oh, I get it. I see what we're doing because they're actually doing it with us as a model. Now they're taking what they learned and they're going ahead and using it on their own, not just in my class, in every class that they attend. So, when the kids move from class to class, I'm very lucky. I have a great, strong team. They're seeing everything again and again and again. When they go to art, when they go to music, tech, STEAM, they're seeing it constantly. So they know what they're doing. They can actually teach us. Is that it? Oh, yeah, there we go. Sorry. That's okay. I get off on a tangent. All right, and here we have pictures of students working collaboratively on thinking maps. Oops.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was just going to say, this is in science. If you look at them, the kids are loving what they're doing. They're on the floor. They're working together. I can tell you for the first time in all the years that I've been teaching, which I'm not going to say how long, there was no talk other than science in my room that day. There are special needs children in there. There are children at all different levels in there, and they worked together, and they created those maps together. It is an incredible program, and I'd like to thank you, Mrs. Smith, for bringing it to us, Superintendent Smith, bringing it to us, because these kind of ideas are helping our children focus in and able to just, their horizons are coming out. I mean, it's just amazing to see. And we're very excited about it. And we wanted to bring it to you so you could see that there are great things happening in North Providence, and this is one of them. So we're very grateful to have it, and we really love it. So we hope you liked our presentation, but I have one more thing to show you, and then we'll end our presentation. This is the end. This is Ms. DeSanto, and this is of teachers that we're working on the bottom right hand. You'll see Tess there. You'll see Mike Bento, and you'll see Jill Vincent. This was all of us, the 2 middle schools, working together. We have professional developments that are rigorous. We're exhausted when we're done. We've been taught so much, and we've worked very hard on it, and it's all the teachers together. So it's not just our team, it's both schools, and we're working together, and it's just been a great experience. So we thank you for hearing us.
Alyssa, first of all, I have to thank the leadership team, but, it wasn't a top-down initiative. We sent teachers out to look at the program, and then the teachers came back and said, yes, we really want to be invested in this. And I think that because the forward, it really is taking. Who's been leading the charge, and actually schools who have been totally invested in this project district-wide for all our middle school students. So we thank everyone.
Thank you. Thanks. And thank you again for allowing this opportunity to present what is actually happening at both middle schools, and that we're excited to teach children to think for the first time in many, many years. It's they are actually taking the lead and showing and understanding their thinking, and it's all based on the 8 cognitive skills that every person in this room uses. And it's amazing to see a initiative that every single teacher, the gym teacher, the nurse, the music teacher, the assistant principal, the secretary, we're all coming together on a united front, and the kids are seeing us, and we're showing our problem-solving skills, and they're learning it, and they're actually understanding the world a little bit better. So thank you for this opportunity.
And so impressive, teachers, seriously. You know, and for the Ritchie teachers that are out there watching this video, thank you as well, because everybody has been on the same page, and they have worked on this all summer long.
Thank you for your hard work. Lisa Jakes.
Good evening. I will make my presentation brief, but I don't want to in any way diminish the importance of this topic. So you'll see at the end of the slides where I have, I think, 6, and they're quick. There's a link that certainly, as a committee individually, if you'd like to take a further dive into the data, you're certainly welcome to on your own. It's a very interactive dashboard, or I'm happy to sit at any time and certainly meet with each of you individually, or we can certainly do separate group workshops if anyone's interested to further. So, Mr. De Silva, I'll have you pass that down, please, real quick. So as we have reported over the past few months, and you've received in your briefs, we've seemed to be holding our own statewide regarding ELA and math in comparison to the state average. And so those bar graphs are there for you just as a quick reference in our comparison in math and in ELA compared to the state. So we are closer to the state average in ELA than math. We do have a focus on the need to improve our math scores. As you see in your packet, this year they have changed how they are measuring classifications. So that was the latest results that came out in scores. You might have heard of schools that were commended. There was a short list of commended schools in the state. And so this is how they use the criteria to be able to come up with that rating. You need 90 points or more to be a commended school. And the categories that they're looking at are the proficiency in ELA and math, whether they're closing the gaps in ELA and math, or student growth from one year to another, and for the high school only, they look at graduation rates. So I won't digest and dissect this, the 2 charts there for you, but I just wanted you to have a comparison at your fingertips of how they rated last year in comparison to this year. So you'll see that the categories are different. So we are in the midst of a slight change statewide in how we calculate accountability. So last year you'll see that there were different categories. The total points remains the same. So when you're comparing out of 100 points, the criteria was also the same. You had to have 90 points or higher to be classified as commended. And so last year our school total points are in your slide packet. And this year the points that were just released are also in your packet. And so you can see certain gains, and we'll take a quick look at that. Centerdale is the only school that received an alert status. This does not mean that they're in priority or warning. It was just a little flag to say that their participation rate is lower than the 95% expected rate that the state has asked for. So just a quick summary as far as points, because we cannot really compare the categories from last year to this year due to the changes. We're hoping that the accountability system will remain the same as we're finally now engulfed in Park, but they'll also be changing that for the high school. So we did see some great increases and some small increases, and unfortunately only one decrease. But so as far as overall points, so Superintendent Smith and I are certainly thrilled to be seeing the district moving as a whole, and I think all of the efforts put together, both in infusing technology and professional development, initiatives like thinking maps, and other work that we're doing, and we're hoping to see ongoing changes. We are involved in the MSP grant and other initiatives to continue to move forward in this direction. So you can see which schools, and so I do have to certainly highlight, although some schools did very well in increasing their overall points, Greystone certainly, if we go back a slide, Greystone certainly has been knocking it out of the park no pun intended, this past year, and really doing very well on all of their categories. In addition, the high school again met the full points received for our graduation rate. So last year, the total points that you could receive for graduation was 26. We received 26 last year. This year, the point towards graduation is 30, and we received the full 30. So the graduation rate has definitely continued to get full points here in North Providence. And so you have the link on that last page that I handed out. If you're interested, by all means, please feel free to click on that, type that into your browser and play on that dashboard. It's interactive. You can compare grade level to grade level, school to school, school to other districts, and be able to do a full comparison on how we rate as far as scores go. And I'm happy, like I said, to meet with any of you individually or in small groups. If you would like to take a deeper dive, I'm here for you if you need to. And thank you so much. If there are any questions. All right, I will hand this back over to you, Superintendent.
Thank you, Lisa. And, that is good news. We are starting to move in the right direction. We certainly have a long way to go, but, turning things around and seeing all the initiatives we put in place actually start to come to fruition is a good thing. So the next thing on the agenda is be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the financial report as submitted.
Seconded by Mr. Iannetta. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the homeschool requests as submitted.
Motion by who moved it? Steve Andriozzi, seconded by Ron Iannetta. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the field trip requests as submitted.
Motion by Regina Picard, seconded by Stephen Andriozzi. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the school safety plan as submitted.
Motion by Regina Picard. Seconded by Mr. Silva. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the Children's Friends contract for service as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. De Silva. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next item.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the class of 2019 junior prom venue contract as submitted.
Motion by Ms. Picard. Who seconded it? Ronnie. Second by Ron Iannetta. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
We do not have any bids this evening. Next item, be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the resignations as submitted.
So move with regret. Who did it down there? Ron Iannetta, seconded by Ms. Picard. Discussion? All those in favor?
The next item on the agenda is retirement, and I do, with regret, ask for recommendation for Diane Corsi, who has served at central office as our clerk in our central office special education program. So be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the retirements as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Cataldi, seconded by Mr. Andriozzi. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Be it resolved that at the recommendation, the superintendent of the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the leave of absences as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Iannetta, seconded by Mr. Palmieri. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
We do not have any layoffs and non-renewals, but we do have appointments. And I'm going to read them. Connie O'Connor, the community health worker, just to remind everyone, this is a temporary HES grant-funded position. Danielle Hathaway, math RTI teacher at North Providence High School. David Majakamo, girls basketball coach at Ritchie. Deborah Giamacco, math RTI teacher at the high school. Carrie Ann Green, math RTI teacher at the high school. Maria Bronco, math RTI substitute at the high school. Deborah Thornley, crossing guard district-wide, the post at Mineral Spring and Terry. Ashley Gardner, crossing guard district-wide, a permanent floater for our crossing guards. Pamela Valella, teacher assistant at Birchwood, 1 year only. And Alyssa Milelio, resource teacher district-wide, 1 year only.
Need a motion? Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Ron Iannetta. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
We do not have any layoffs or displacements. Next item is be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the class of 2019 senior prom venue contract as submitted.
Motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr.
Andrea.
Andriozzi. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted. Next
The
item.
next item is to Mr. Palmieri in regards to talking about the Special Education Department reorganization.
Yeah, I would like to have the superintendent and the special ed director look into getting some additional help into the special ed department. I realize that it's just become an overwhelming task for one person to do this. There's over 700 special ed students now, and there's so many laws and rules that have to be followed that I think it's just an impossible task for one person to handle. So I thought it was a time that we start looking into putting the resources into the proper place, because it's just an overwhelming task. So I think the superintendent and assistant superintendent and director, we're going to look into coming up with a plan, and hopefully we can institute it this year.
And I would like to thank Mr. Palmieri and Mrs. Picard for actually helping guide us through that process. It is something that we do need to look at, and we'll come back with a report for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Next item.
Next item is, where are we? Be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the use of property as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Picard, seconded by Mr. Iannetta. Discussion, all those in favor?
I have one thing.
Yep.
Wait a minute,
So,
let's
it's a
get it on-
caveat.
Wait a minute, Rod, let's get it on the floor first.
I'm sorry?
We need,
I seconded it.
yeah, but we're gonna have a discussion on this. Now you can talk. Go ahead.
That's what I thought I was doing. Okay. Okay. One thing, just a caveat, North Providence, Connie Mack, baseball games and practices. We've already given property usage last month to Babe Ruth. These groups know that they have to work it out amongst themselves. I'm willing to sit down and mediate. I've done that in the past. Hasn't had to happen recently. I did. And all I'm saying is that when somebody puts in a property usage for the baseball field, our baseball programs come first. And whether it's a Monday and a Wednesday and Saturdays 9 to 4, when we've already given another group. So there's some overlap there. So my suggestion would be go back to last month, find out what we did for Babe Ruth, let both parties know that they have property usage and they need to work out the times amongst each other. Well,
And we all know the priority goes to
exactly,
right,
and they have
okay.
to work around our baseball program
Right.
at the school. Well, he's going from June 1st to October. So that would include their fall ball. Summer. It's June, no, it's half a year. It's June 1st of 2017 to October. And Babe Ruth did it last month. So it's a posturing exercise. Yes, it's for next year. But in the past it's worked out. I just want to bring that to everyone's attention. So there it is.
And I'll make sure I follow up with a letter to those organizations so that they
Perfect.
work that
Be
out.
great.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it, so voted.
Anthony,
resolved that at the
excuse me one
recommendation-
second.
Yes.
Can I just jump back with the
Sure.
special ed? I just want to, for the record, just to state that Chris Jones is doing a phenomenal job. I don't want this to in any way think that it's a diminish in what he's doing, but and I've been through 4 or 5 special ed directors now since I've been here, and he's by far the best person I've seen. So we want to make sure that this department gets the the credit and the help that it needs.
So, Chris, you're not on roller skates. Don't worry about it, okay? Next item.
Next item, be it resolved that at the recommendation of the superintendent, the North Providence School Committee consider and vote to approve the list of bills as submitted.
Motion by Mr. Picard, seconded by Mr. Ionetta. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted.
Next item are minutes.
I make a motion to approve and seal the executive session minutes for September 28th, pursuant and applicable to provisions of Rhode Island General Law 42-46-4 and 5.
Motion by Mrs. Picard on the minutes, second by Mr. Cataldi. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, so voted.
And I make a motion to accept the general session minutes for September 28th as well.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Picard, seconded by Mr. Andriozzi. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, ayes have it, so voted. And the next is a motion to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned at 8:14.